The council chamber was too quiet. Hana stood with her fists clenched, staring at the faces around the long metal table. Each face belonged to someone important. Governors, military leaders, diplomats from a dozen different worlds. They all looked tired. They all looked scared. "This is wrong," Hana said. Her voice cut through the silence like a knife. "You cannot do this to him." Ambassador Doyan cleared his throat. He was an old man with gray hair and sad eyes. "Captain Hana, we understand your concerns, but the decision has been made." "Decision?" Hana stepped forward. "You mean surrender. You are giving Jiho away like he is a piece of property." The room shifted uncomfortably. Everyone knew Hana and Jiho had history. They grew up together on New Terra. They survived the collapse wars together when the colony almost died. They pulled wounded soldiers from burning ships. They held the line when everyone else ran. Jiho was more than her friend. He was her brother in all ways that mattered. "The Valkyrie Empire has offered protection," Doyan said carefully. "In exchange for this marriage, they will defend New Terra from the Crest Swarm. Without them, our colony dies. 15 billion people, Hana. 15 billion lives." Hana wanted to scream. She wanted to flip the table. Instead, she took a deep breath. There must be another way. There is no other way. The voice came from the doorway. Jiho walked in, wearing his formal ambassador uniform. He looked calm, too calm. His dark eyes met Hana's, and she saw the resignation there. He had already accepted his fate. "Jiho, no," Hana said. "You do not have to do this." "Yes, I do." Jiho moved to stand beside the table. He placed his hands on the cold metal surface. The Creth destroyed the outer colonies last month. 3 million dead in one day. They are coming for New Terra next. Our fleet cannot stop them. We need the Valkyrie, but marriage? Hana's voice cracked. They see us as animals, Jiho. They call us primitive. They think we are barely intelligent. And you want to marry their princess? Jiho smiled, but it did not reach his eyes. What I want does not matter. What matters is those 15 billion people. What matters is the children who will grow up because we made this choice. Ambassador Doyan pulled up a hologram. The image showed a tall figure made of crystal and light. Princess Lys-Ara of the Valkyrie Empire. She was beautiful in an alien way. Her body seemed to be carved from living diamond. Her eyes glowed with cold blue light. She looked perfect. She looked completely inhuman. The princess arrives in 5 days, Doyan said. The wedding will happen 3 days after that. This will create a formal alliance between humanity and the Valkyrie Empire. An alliance? Hana laughed bitterly. You mean ownership. The Valkyrie do not see us as equals. They see us as useful pets. Once they control New Terra, what happens to us? We survive, Jiho said firmly. We adapt. We find a way forward. That is what humans do, Hana. We survive. The meeting continued for another hour. Battle plans, trade agreements, territory discussions. Hana barely listened. She watched Jiho instead. He sat quietly, nodding at appropriate times, asking smart questions. He was playing his role perfectly. The noble sacrifice. The brave ambassador. The man who would give up everything for his people. But Hana knew better. She knew Jiho dreamed of a simple life. He wanted to teach music to children. He wanted to grow a garden. He wanted to fall in love with someone who chose him, not someone who needed him for politics. After the meeting ended, Hana caught Jiho in the hallway. She grabbed his arm and pulled him into an empty room. Talk to me, she demanded. Really talk to me. Jiho leaned against the wall. For the first time, his calm mask cracked. What do you want me to say, Hana? That I am scared? That I wish things were different? Of course I do. But wishes do not stop the Creth. Wishes do not save colonies. This princess has never even met you. She probably does not care about you at all. I know, Jiho said quietly. I read the reports. The Valkyrie do not feel emotions like we do. They value logic above everything. To her, I am just a transaction. A contract. A way to secure human resources for her empire. Then why? Hannah's eyes filled with tears. Why go through with it? Jiho reached out and put a hand on her shoulder. Because 15 billion people are worth more than my happiness. Because sometimes the right choice is the hard choice. Because if I do not do this, you and everyone else I love will die. Hannah knew he was right. She hated it, but she knew. Still, she could not accept it. Not yet. I will find another way, she said. Before that wedding happens, I will find another way. Jiho smiled sadly. There is no other way, Hannah. I have made my peace with this. You should too. But as Hannah left the building and walked into the cold night air of New Terra, she made herself a promise. She would not give up. She would not let Jiho sacrifice himself without a fight. She had 5 days until the princess arrived. 5 days to change everything. Princess Lysara stepped off her ship and onto human soil. The air felt strange. Too warm. Too full of moisture and organic smells. Her crystalline body shimmered in the afternoon light as she processed her surroundings with cold efficiency. Primitive, she thought, observing the buildings around her. Humans built with such simple materials. Metal and concrete. Nothing elegant. Nothing optimized. Her own people had moved beyond such crude construction 3,000 years ago. Her advisor, a smaller Valkyrie named Tejan, walked beside her. The pre-wedding reception is in the garden, Your Highness. The human ambassador is supposed to greet you there. Lysara felt nothing about this information. Emotion was inefficient. She had been taught this since her creation 300 years ago. This marriage was a logical transaction. Humans provided resources and strategic territory. The Valkyrie provided military protection. Simple mathematics taught she had never seen this Jiho creature. She did not need to. One human was much like another, emotional, irrational, useful only for their breeding speed and adaptability. They spread across planets like efficient little organisms, farming and building and multiplying. Perfect for expanding the Empire's economic base. The garden was full of people when Lysara arrived. Humans in formal clothing. Aliens from allied species. Everyone turned to stare at her. She heard whispers, gasps, fear. Good. Fear meant respect in this crude universe. But then she saw something that made her pause dot at the far end of the garden. Beneath a large tree, a human male knelt on the ground. He was bent over something small. Around him, several aliens watched with concerned expressions. None of them noticed the princess arriving. What is happening there? Lysara asked Dot test single quotes and scanned the scene with his advanced vision. It appears to be a minor medical incident, Your Highness. Nothing that concerns you. But Lysara found herself walking toward the group. Something about the scene pulled at her attention in a way she could not calculate. Dot as she got closer. She saw what the kneeling human was doing. A small child lay on the grass. The child was a Rethan, a species with blue skin and large eyes. The child was crying. Blood seeped from a wound on its leg. The human male spoke in perfect Retham language. His voice was soft and calm. It is okay, Daro. I know it hurts. But you are very brave. You are doing so well. The human's hands moved quickly. He cleaned the wound with careful precision. He applied medical gel. He wrapped the leg in clean bandages. His movements were efficient, but something about them was different from Valkyrie efficiency. There was something gentle in how he worked. Who is that human? Lysara asked a nearby guest. The guest, a Rethan female, bowed quickly when she saw the princess. That is Ambassador Jiho, Your Highness. He has been helping us for 3 days now. Helping you? Yes. The female's eyes filled with tears. Strange. Why waste fluid on emotions? We are refugees from the war. We arrived with nothing. Ambassador Jiho found a shelter. He gave us food from his own supplies. He even gave us his quarters to sleep in while he slept in an office. Another refugee spoke up, an elderly male. He speaks 17 languages. He translates for us when we talk to human officials. He helps us fill out forms. He plays with our children so we can rest. He asks for nothing in return. Lysara processed this information. It made no logical sense. These refugees offered no political advantage. They had no money, no power, no resources. Helping them was inefficient. It was a waste of time and energy. Why does he do this? Lysara asked. The refugees looked at each other in confusion. Because we need help, the female said simply. Is that not reason enough? Before Lysara could respond, the human male finally noticed her. Jiho looked up from bandaging the child's leg. His eyes widened slightly when he saw the towering crystal princess. But he did not jump to his feet. He did not bow. He did not rush over apologizing. Instead, he smiled. It was a warm expression that changed his entire face. Princess Lysara, I assume? Welcome to New Terra. I will be with you in just a moment. Darrow here is more important right now. More important. A refugee child was more important than greeting an imperial princess. The logic center in Lysara's mind struggled to process this. Every calculation said this human should prioritize her. She was powerful. She controlled armies. She could destroy this colony with a single command. The child was nobody, nothing. But Jiho turned back to the child as if the princess did not exist. He finished wrapping the bandage. He helped the small Rethan sit up. He pulled a piece of candy from his pocket and offered it with another smile. You were so brave, Darrow. I am proud of you. The child hugged him. Just threw small blue arms around the human's neck and held tight. And Jiho hugged back, gentle and careful, as if the child was made of glass. Thank you, Ambassador, the mother said, crying freely now. Thank you for everything. Only then did Jiho stand and walk toward Lysara. He was shorter than her by a full meter. His body was soft and organic and fragile. His clothes were rumpled from kneeling on the ground. He had a spot of the child's blood on his sleeve. He looked nothing like an ambassador. Nothing like a warrior or anyone important. But when he looked at her, Lysara felt something she had never felt before. Something she had no name for. Something that did not fit into any calculation or logic pattern she knew. I apologize for making you wait, Jiho said. His voice was calm and genuine. But Darrow fell and was scared. Fear is terrible for children. It needed to be addressed first. The child is nobody. Lysara heard herself say, I am a princess of the Valkyrie Empire. Yes, Jiho agreed. You are very important. But so is Darrow. Every person matters, princess. That is what my people believe. That is what I believe. He extended his hand in the human gesture of greeting. His palm was warm when Lysara touched it. Organic warmth. Living warmth. For the first time in 300 years of perfect logical existence, Princess Lysara felt curious about something that made no sense at all. She felt curious about humans. Hana found the princess in the observation room overlooking New Terra's main city. The crystalline figure stood perfectly still, watching humans move through the streets below like she was studying insects. We need to talk, Hana said. She did not bother with formal greetings. Lysara turned slowly, her glowing eyes fixed on Hana with calculating precision. Captain Hana, I have read about you. You oppose this marriage. Yes, I do. Hana stepped closer. She was not afraid of this alien princess, no matter how powerful she was. Jiho is not a trade good. He is a person. He has dreams and hopes and feelings. You cannot just take him because it is convenient. I am not taking him. Your people offered him. This is a mutually beneficial arrangement. Lizara's voice had no emotion in it. It was like talking to a computer. You do not care about him at all, do you? Care? Lizara considered the word. That is an emotional concept. Emotions are inefficient. They cloud judgment. They lead to poor decisions. My people eliminated most emotions 3,000 years ago when we evolved beyond such primitive states. Hannah felt anger burning in her chest. Then you have eliminated what makes life worth living. An illogical statement. Life is worth living because it continues. Survival is the only purpose that matters. No, Hannah said firmly. Survival is not enough. What is the point of living if you do not feel anything? If you do not love anything? If you have no reason beyond just existing? For a moment, Lizara was silent. Then she said something unexpected. Explain this to me. I am curious. It was the first time Hannah heard anything resembling interest in the princess's voice. She seized the opportunity. Give me 3 days, Hannah said. 3 days before the wedding. Let me show you what it means to be human. If you still think this marriage is just a transaction after that, I will stop opposing it. Lizara calculated probabilities in her advanced mind. This was irregular. But irregularities sometimes produced useful data. Very well. 3 days. The first day, Hannah took Lizara to a human school. Children sat in a bright room while Jiho played an ancient instrument called a piano. His fingers moved across the black and white keys, creating sound patterns that had no survival purpose whatsoever. The children listened with complete attention. Some closed their eyes. Some swayed to the rhythm. When Jiho finished, they clapped and cheered. Why do they do this? Lizara asked. This sound pattern serves no function. It does not provide food or shelter or defense. It is called music, Hannah explained. It makes us feel things, joy, sadness, hope. It reminds us that life is more than just surviving. Jiho saw them watching. He smiled and waved the princess over. Would you like to try? Lizara found herself sitting at the piano. Jiho guided her crystalline hands to the keys. Just press them. See what happens. She pressed a key. Sound emerged. She pressed another. Different sound. She began calculating patterns and frequencies, creating mathematically perfect sequences. But Jiho stopped her gently. Do not think. Just feel. Let the sounds guide you. I do not feel, Lizara said. Everyone feels something, Jiho replied, even if they forgot how to recognize it. The second day, Hannah brought Lizara to a memorial service. Human soldiers had died defending a supply convoy. Their bodies were displayed in open caskets, surrounded by flowers and photographs. People cried. They hugged each other. They told stories about the dead soldiers. They laughed at funny memories. They mourned. Jiho spoke at the service. He talked about each soldier individually. He knew their names, their favorite foods, their dreams. He spoke about Minho, who wanted to be a teacher, about Yuna, who collected old books, about Taeyang, who made terrible jokes that everyone loved anyway. They were not just soldiers, Jiho said to the crowd. They were people, unique and irreplaceable. The universe is smaller without them. We are less without them. So we remember. We honor. We carry them forward in our hearts. Why expend so much energy on the dead? Lizara asked Hannah. They cannot benefit from this attention. It is not for them, Hana said quietly. It is for us. We remember because forgetting would make us less human. Each person matters. Each life has value. If we forget that, we become like machines. Lysara processed this information. The Valkyrie did not mourn their dead. When a Valkyrie stopped functioning, they recycled the materials into new forms, efficient, logical. But standing in this room full of weeping humans, Lysara felt something strange in her crystalline core. Something that almost felt like sadness. The third day brought crisis. Alarms blared across the city. Kreth ships had appeared in orbit. A strike force was attacking the refugee camp where Darrow and the other Rethans lived. Hannah grabbed her weapon and ran for the transport. But Lysara noticed something that made her stop. Jiho was running too. Not away from danger. Toward it. That is illogical, Lysara said out loud. He is not a soldier. He should evacuate. But she followed anyway, her curiosity overriding logical protocols. At the refugee camp, chaos ruled. Buildings burned. People screamed. Kreth warriors, massive insect-like creatures, tore through the defenses. Jiho ran into the middle of it all. He pulled children from burning buildings. He organized evacuation routes. He carried wounded refugees toward safety. A Kreth warrior spotted him. It raised its weapon. Jiho saw it too. But between him and the warrior stood 3 small refugee children, frozen in fear. Jiho did not run. He spread his arms wide and put himself between the children and the weapon. He made himself the target. Run! He shouted at the children. Go! Now! The Kreth fired. And Lysara watched a human male choose to die, so that 3 alien children might live. She watched him. Choose it without hesitation. She watched him smile at those children even as death came for him. Something inside Lysara broke. Or maybe it woke up. 3,000 years of perfect logic shattered like glass. She moved faster than thought. Her crystalline body absorbed the Kreth's energy blast. She summoned her royal guard and ordered them to defend the camp. This is not your fight, Tasham protested. The alliance is not official yet. I do not care about official, Lysara heard herself say. I care about them. And for the first time in 300 years, Princess Lysara understood what that word meant. She understood care. The Valkyrie Royal Guard moved through the refugee camp like living weapons. Their crystalline bodies deflected Kreth blaster fire. Their energy shields protected fleeing refugees. Within minutes, the tide of battle shifted. Jiho stood frozen, staring at the spot where he should have died. Princess Lysara's massive form towered in front of him, light dancing across her crystal surface. She had moved impossibly fast. She had saved him. Why? He asked. Lysara did not answer. She was too busy coordinating her forces. Her voice rang out in commands that the Kreth could not counter. When the last enemy ship fled into orbit, an eerie silence fell over the camp. Smoke rose from burning buildings. Wounded refugees cried out for help. Hannah appeared beside Jiho, bleeding from a cut on her forehead. But she was alive. They were all alive. Medical teams now, Lysara commanded. Her guards moved to help the wounded. They set up energy shields around damaged buildings. They created light sources in the growing darkness. They saved lives with the same efficiency they had used to end. Kreth lives. Jiho found Darrow and his mother huddled behind a collapsed wall. The small Rethan child ran to him, wrapping small arms around his legs. You came back, Darrow whispered. You did not leave us. I would never leave you, Jiho said, kneeling to hug the child properly. Over Darrow's head, he met Lysara's glowing eyes. Thank you, Princess. You did not have to do this. No, Lysara said slowly. I did not have to, but I chose to. She paused, processing this new sensation of choice that came from something other than logic. You said something to me yesterday. You said every person matters. I have been thinking about those words. They do not make logical sense, but somehow they feel true. Anna walked over, wiping blood from her face. She studied the princess with new eyes. You saved them. All of them. Why? I do not know, Lysara admitted. For a being who had spent 3 centuries calculating everything, this uncertainty felt strange, almost frightening. When I saw Jiho put himself between those children and death, I felt something I have never felt before. It was not logical. It was not efficient. But it was strong. So strong that I could not ignore it. That is called compassion, Jiho said gently. It means caring about others even when it costs you something. Compassion? Lysara repeated the word like she was tasting something new. My people eliminated compassion long ago. They said it made us weak. But watching you today, I think perhaps they were wrong. Perhaps compassion is what makes a species strong. The moment was interrupted by a harsh crystalline voice. Tashan approached with several other Valkyrie officials. Their body language radiated disapproval. Your Highness, Tashan said formally. The Valkyrie High Council demands immediate communication with you. They are not pleased. Lysara straightened to her full height. I will speak with them. The communication came through on a holographic display. 7 ancient Valkyrie faces appeared, each one more stern than the last. The High Matriarch spoke first. Her voice could have cut diamond. Princess Lysara, explain your actions. I defended refugees from a Kreth attack, Lysara said. She kept her voice steady. Refugees who provide no value to the Empire. Refugees who are not part of any treaty or agreement. You wasted Royal Guard resources. You wasted time. You wasted energy. For what? For nothing. Not nothing, Lysara said. For lives. For people who needed help. People? The matriarch's laugh was cold. They are not people, child. They are resources. Variables in equations. The humans are useful for their breeding and adaptability. The Rethans are useful for their labor. But as individuals, they mean nothing. This is basic logic. This is what we have taught you since creation. Jiho stood beside Lysara now. Hannah joined him. Together, they faced the holographic council. With respect, Jiho said, that is not logic. That is emptiness. The council members stared at him with cold contempt. The human speaks out of turn. Silence it. No, Lysara said firmly. He is right. You taught me that logic is the highest good. But you forgot to ask what the purpose of that logic is. Logic without purpose is just empty calculation. The purpose is survival of the Valkyrie Empire, the matriarch said. But why? Lysara pressed. Why survive if there is no meaning to that survival? Why exist if we feel nothing, create nothing, care about nothing? We have optimized ourselves into perfection, yes. But perfect emptiness is still emptiness. The council erupted in angry voices. Accusations flew. Betrayal, corruption, emotional contamination. They demanded Lysara prove her loyalty. They demanded she reject these human ideas. They demanded the marriage proceed under the original terms, with humans as subordinate species under Valkyrie control, or they would cancel the alliance entirely. Lysara felt torn in 2 directions. On one side was 300 years of conditioning, logic, duty, service to the Empire. On the other side was something new, something that had awakened when she watched Jiho choose to die for alien children, something that grew stronger every moment she spent with these strange, impossible humans, She looked at Jiho. He stood quietly, not pressuring her, just being present. She saw him covered in dust and blood from saving refugees. She saw Hannah with her weapon ready to defend people she did not even know. She saw Darrow holding his mother's hand, safe because someone chose to care. "I have a question for the council," Lysara said. "In your 3,000 years of perfect logic, have you ever created something beautiful? Have you ever chosen kindness over efficiency? Have you ever looked at another being and felt joy simply because they exist?" Silence greeted her questions. "I thought not," Lysara continued. "I have lived 300 years in perfect logic. But in 3 days with humans, I have felt more alive than in all those centuries combined. They showed me music that serves no purpose but makes life worth living. They showed me mourning that honors the dead. They showed me courage that defies calculation. They showed me what I have been missing. Then you are lost to us," the matriarch said coldly. "You have been corrupted by emotion. You are no longer fit to be Velkari royalty." Lysara took a deep breath. If such a thing could be said of a crystalline being. "Then I choose corruption. I choose emotion. I choose to feel." The holographic display went dark. Teshin stepped forward, his voice sad. "Your Highness, they will exile you. They will strip your title. You will lose everything." Lysara looked at Jiho and Hana, at the refugees they had saved together. "No," she said softly. "I think I have finally found everything." The wedding day arrived with tension thick enough to cut. News of Lysara's confrontation with the Velkari Council had spread across the galaxy. Every major species watched to see what would happen. Would the Alliance collapse? Would war come? Would humanity face the Kreth alone? Hana stood in the preparation room with Jiho. He wore traditional human wedding clothes, simple and elegant. But his face showed worry. "I heard about the council," Jiho said. "Lysara might lose everything because of me." "Because of us." "Because of her choice," Hana corrected. "She chose to care, Jiho. Nobody forced her." She paused, then admitted something difficult. "I was wrong about her. I thought she was just a cold alien using you for politics. But she's more than that. She's becoming more every day." "You approve of the marriage now?" Hana smiled. It was a real smile, not a bitter one. "I approve if it is what you truly want. Not duty, not sacrifice, but actual choice." Before Jiho could answer, the door opened. Lysara entered, and both humans stopped breathing. The princess had transformed herself. Her crystalline body now held colors, refracting light into rainbows. She wore decorations made from materials, both Velkari and human. She looked like a bridge between two worlds. "May I speak with Jiho alone?" Lysara asked. Hana nodded and left, but not before squeezing Jiho's hand. A silent message passed between old friends. "Be honest. Be true to yourself. I trust you." When they were alone, Lysara approached Jiho slowly. Despite her massive size, she moved with careful gentleness now. "I need to tell you something before this wedding happens. I am listening. The council has exiled me. I am no longer princess of the Velkari Empire. I have no title, no official power, no armies. If you marry me now, you gain nothing for New Terra. The original alliance is cancelled." Jiho processed this information. A week ago, this would have been disaster. But something had changed. "What do you want, Lysara?" "Not what the council wants. Not what humans need. What do you want?" It was perhaps the first time anyone had asked her that question in 300 years. Lysara felt something wet form in her crystalline eyes. Tears. An inefficient use of fluid. A completely emotional response. She did not try to stop them. "I wanted to try," she said. "I want to learn what it means to care about someone. I want to understand music and mourning, and all the strange, beautiful things humans do. I want to choose compassion over calculation. I want to feel alive." She paused. "But only if you want this too. Not out of duty. Out of choice." Jiho smiled. That same warm smile that had first made Lysera curious. "I want to try too. We can figure this out together." The wedding ceremony was broadcast across the entire Galactic Council network. Billions watched as Jiho and Lysera stood before the gathered crowd. But something was different from the planned ceremony. Ambassador Doyen began the proceedings, his voice carrying across the hall. "Today, we witness not a political transaction, but something more important. A choice. Two beings from different worlds choosing to build a bridge." Then Lysera spoke. Her voice rang out clear and strong. "I am no longer a princess. I have no empire to offer. But I offer something else. I offer partnership. True partnership between equals." Gasps echoed through the crowd. This was not what anyone expected. "Humanity possesses something my people lost long ago," Lysera continued. "The ability to find purpose beyond mere survival. The courage to care even when logic says it is inefficient. The wisdom to know that consciousness without compassion is just sophisticated emptiness. I do not come here to rule humans or to use them. I come here to learn from them, and to teach what I know in return." Murmurs spread through the audience. Representatives from dozens of species leaned forward, suddenly very interested. Jiho stepped forward. "We accept this partnership, not as masters and servants, not as users and used, but as equals working toward a shared future. We will defend New Terra ourselves if we must, but we hope others will join us in building something new, something better." Before anyone could respond, alarms blared. Holographic displays showed Kreth ships entering the system. Dozens of them. The invasion force everyone had feared. But then something unexpected happened. Several Valkyrie ships broke from their fleet formation. They were ships loyal to Lysera, crews who had chosen her over the council. They moved to defend New Terra. "We stand with the princess," their captain announced. "We stand for choice over command, for compassion over calculation." More ships appeared. Rethan vessels? Smaller species that had been watching this drama unfold. Even some Valkyrie who had grown tired of empty perfection. They formed a defensive line around New Terra. The Kreth attacked. But they faced something they had never encountered before. A coalition built not on fear or domination, but on shared purpose. The battle was fierce but short. The Kreth could not break a defense held together by genuine alliance. When the smoke cleared, Jiho and Lysera stood in the damaged ceremony hall, holding hands. One hand warm and organic. One hand cold and crystalline. Different but connected, Don Hannah approached them, her uniform scorched from the battle. "Wow," she said with a tired smile. "That was quite a wedding. Do you give your blessing now?" Jiho asked. "I give my blessing. Not because of politics or necessity, but because you two are building something real. Something honest. Something that might actually change things." 5 years passed. New Terra thrived as the heart of a new coalition. The Partnership of Purpose, they called it. Dozens of species joined. Not through conquest or threat, but through genuine cooperation. Lysera and Jiho led together, teaching other species that strength came from diversity, not uniformity. Human cultural ambassadors became some of the most requested diplomats in the galaxy. They taught music to species who had forgotten beauty. They taught mourning rituals to species who had lost touch with grief. They taught compassion to species who had optimized it away. The Valkyrie underwent renaissance. Younger generations, inspired by Lysera's choice, began reclaiming emotions their ancestors had discarded. Art flourished in the Empire for the first time in millennia. The High Council lost power as more Velkari chose feeling over pure logic. Hannah visited Jiho and Lysera in their home. She found them in the garden with their child, a hybrid being that glowed with soft light. The child was playing with Daro, who was now a teenager training to be a diplomat. "You did it?" Hannah said, watching the scene with wonder. "You actually changed things." Jiho looked at his wife, his partner, his friend. "We just showed them what humans have always known. That consciousness without compassion is empty. That survival without meaning is pointless. That the measure of a civilization is not how efficiently it exists, but what beauty it creates along the way." Lysera added, "And that sometimes the greatest strength is choosing to care, even when logic says it costs too much." As the sun set over New Terra, children from a dozen different species played together in the gardens. Music drifted from open windows. Laughter echoed through the streets. And somewhere in orbit, ships from the Partnership of Purpose stood guard, protecting not just territory or resources, but something more valuable. They protected the right to feel, the right to care, the right to find meaning in existence beyond mere survival. They protected what it meant to be truly alive. And it all started because one human showed an alien princess that some choices are worth making, even when they defy all logic.